What do you want from me?
You'll see. After the surgery.
You're crazy!
Am I? Well, perhaps we're all a little crazy. I know I am. I went mad after they tore us apart, but I'll be sane once I sew us back together.
But you'll kill both of us!
No, it's easy. Look, I've been practicing. I made a pigeon rat.
Welcome back, friends and fans, to the Complete Guide to Horror podcast. Today, we're discussing American Mary, the 2012 Canadian body horror film, written and directed by the Soskas sisters, Jen and Sylvia, and starring Katharine Isabelle, Antonio Cupo, and Tristan Vrisk. Isabelle plays a destitute medical student who begins taking clients from the extreme body modification community to solve her financial troubles. I didn't actually know this movie existed until you suggested it, BP, but I have seen little bits and pieces like the poster. I know I've seen the trailer before. It just, the title never stuck with me and I wasn't sure what the movie was. And then having watched it, it's funny I say this because I'm a huge Saw franchise lover, but I'm not necessarily like a body horror or gore lover, but I really like this movie. But I do have to say this up front. I fucking hated the ending. I really did. It was the one thing where I was like, this was going so good. And then they ruined it. And, there's a lot of different, not gross out sequences per se, but a lot of things to do with like torture, just like body modification, where I was like, I don't want to watch that again per se. But no, I really liked it. I thought it was a cohesive, consistent film, and I'm actually glad that I watched it, but I will probably just stop like 5 minutes before the ending and be like, wow, this was perfect, this is my ending. But this is your pick of the month, so what are your thoughts behind American Mary? Why did you pick it, and what did you think?
Yeah, well, this one was one from the archives, and when I say archives, it was on my hard drive for ages, and yonks ago, shout out again to Video Easy. It would have been one of those ones. I'm pretty sure it was in like the little magazine, and I hadn't watched it for ages, but I remember thinking like it was a good film at the time. Watching it again, because I don't think I've watched it since the first time. I think I feel like I'm going to get what's named by Coop on this one. I thought of Coop watching this, thinking he might jab me on this one because I've had a bit of a patchy run with my recommendations. I think it's a good film. I don't think it's like the best film, nor do I think it's a bad film. There's a lot of things I can go into like further on. Overall, I do like appreciate a different this sort of body modification type film. It's not sort of something really touched on in anything we've looked at so far. I might just leave it at that for the time being and we'll come back.
No, all good. And Coop, what are your thoughts?
I reckon this is a really good movie for a 14-year-old who's just discovered what body mods are. I didn't think a lot of this. I didn't think it was very consistent at all. I thought the acting was particularly weak. I'd never heard of this before you suggested it. And when it first started off, I thought it was going to be more about surgery, and like that kind of shit, but it sort of more went the body mod route. I was actually quite surprised when I found out, because I thought one of the worst scenes in this movie, it was actually due to the people that made the movie, Jen and Sylvia Soska. When they first come in and they have the meeting with Katharine Isabelle, about what they want to have done and how they want to be like together and stuff. And it was so comical. They were doing these really bad German accents. I felt like I was watching a cartoon.
We first heard about your work, yeah? Finding you was a different matter. Your work is easily accessible online. You might say you're somewhat of a celebrity.
I was like, what am I watching? And then when it got to the end of the movie and I saw that it was like, oh, it's two women that made it. I thought it would have been like some edgy bloke. But like, yeah, it was those twins. I was like, oh, that kind of explains it, because I mean, that acting was stinky.
Candiable martini. I'll have the same.
Nothing for me, thanks.
Oh, come on, don't make us drink alone.
I'll have the same.
But yeah, I didn't particularly, not for me, this one. Didn't think they pulled it off particularly well.
Yep, that's more than fair. One thing.
No, that's fine. It
Three.
was. I mean, yeah. It is what it is. Yeah.
We're actually changing the title of this podcast from The Complete Guide to Horror Movies to BP's Bullying Hour. So, yeah.
Everyone, we have an announcement to make. Stop bullying!
I'll come back strong in 2023. Don't you worry.
Yeah. This isn't even my final form.
Yeah. Oh, there's some. I'm sure there's some worse ones I've got. So, yeah.
Don't worry, I'm the one that suggested so many horror movies in the past where it's like, why did you make us watch this? And I'm just like, I don't know. One thing before I get into like my one favorite part about this movie is that I'm very surprised that it's called American Mary. I don't really understand why American Mary, unless there's some kind of trademark issue where, I'm surprised they didn't just call her Bloody Mary. That was her name in the movie through like the dark web and all that stuff. That I was like, wouldn't that have made more sense? Because when you think Bloody Mary, at least it would have given some kind of hint towards, well, her name, first of all, but then also the fact that she's like fully fucking up these people's bodies and stuff. But I don't know, maybe there was a trademark issue. Maybe they thought, ooh, American Mary. But when I think that title, I think of like a conservative white woman where the movie's going to be about her rise to become the first Republican president or whatever.
Try giving short, simple answers.
Mrs. Griffin, what do you plan to do about crime in our city?
A lot. Because that's what Jesus wants. 9/11 was bad.
I agree with that. What are your plans for cleaning up our environment?
9/11.
What about our traffic problem?
9/11.
One of my favorite parts about this movie, and it is so stupid and silly, but I really loved the actress who played the Betty Boop wannabe. I just thought it was so funny. I thought it was just completely off the wall, first of all, especially to have that in the first like half an hour of the movie. And I was like, this is interesting. I will give a horror movie credit when they try to be somewhat creative. Likewise, some of the body modification scenes, it did have me being like, ooh, I don't know about this. Or, I'm a big sook when it comes to gore, when it comes to like anything to do with like cutting up the body or things like that, especially that scene where I already forget his name, but like the bad guy of the movie, if you like, where he's like stuck in like the whole contraption and everything. I was like, oh, no, I do not want to watch this. But that's a reaction that the filmmakers wanted to get out of me. I just don't understand why they had to fuck it all up with the ending, but I will save that for later. BP, what are your favorite parts about American Mary?
That actress that plays Beatrice, I think she was sort of carrying the film a lot of the time, that first half an hour. So I actually enjoyed the scenes with her in it. Katharine Isabelle that plays Mary, she was like pretty decent. Like the acting wasn't the greatest, but she wasn't shit either. Like it was good enough. And I think she was like sort of a good lead actor for this film. My favorite, that favorite scene you touched on, Justin, with the professor in the, what do you call it, the contraption. And then later on, I think he's you've got the hooks on his
Ooh.
shoulders hanging him up, and I think he has no arms and no legs at that point, or has no arms. But her playing around with him. I'll touch on in the bad bit, but there wasn't a lot of scenes that were sticking out because, as we'll touch on later, there was a lot of filler scenes I found, and the pacing was a little bit up and down. So that would be my favorite parts.
Yeah. Sorry, and when you said about the part where he's like suspended with the hooks and everything, my mind straight away went to Saw. The final chapter where he's like, no, you've got to insert the hooks through your pectoral muscles.
This is before they go into like the spacecraft thing.
I think I already know the answer, so I'm going to say you don't have any favorite parts, but do you have any favorite parts?
I do. I mean, I'm actually inclined to agree with Byron there. I think the character of Beatrice was probably the strongest thing about the movie. Particularly when she first came in and snuck into the apartment and was like giggling and like creeping around. That was just really eerie. But then at the same time, I felt like as the movie went along and yet there's more interactions that are not really foreshadowing or kind of like eerie, it kind of took away from that character as the movie went on. But yeah, definitely Beatrice was probably, in my opinion, like the stronger character and stronger actor in the movie overall. So I did enjoy that.
You know that part where she finds the strip club manager like getting head from one of the strippers and she goes all crazy and she's like full attacks this poor girl, and I'm thinking, isn't this like a bit of a trope that we see where it's like woman crazy for man, woman attacks girl, and it's like, but the girl didn't really do anything wrong, it was the guy that did something wrong. So when I saw that part, I was like, oh, this was clearly written by like some 16-year-old virgin who probably said hello to a girl and got rejected. So he's like, well, I'm going to write this character about you. This is my fantasy revenge, rah, rah, rah. And then to find out that it was written by a pair of women, I was like, is there another take on this that maybe I'm not getting or whatnot? Because yes, people should be three-dimensional characters. I'm not saying that this character of Mary can't experience jealousy like every other character, but I just thought it was a bit strange and a bit misogynistic. Women, please don't come for me if you feel a different way, but at the same time, I still really fucking hate that ending. I don't have anything nice to say about it. I just thought it was so
lame.
I feel like I've seen this same ending again and again where it's like you're supposed to root for the anti-hero of this movie, but then she dies, so it's just like, well, okay. I would have preferred something else where it's like maybe Beatrice fights back and actually murders. What was the other character's name? Ruby's husband.
Ruby Real Girl, it says.
Whatever her husband's name was that was torturing Beatrice at the end, I was just like, I really wanted Beatrice to like really come back and just like fucking like kill everyone or whatever. She was the only one I was actually kind of rooting for this entire movie. But then to see that, shit doesn't work out, I'm like, well, whatever. But BP, do you have any least favorite parts?
I think overall as a movie, my biggest gripe was the pacing was really off. And it's a thing with horror films when like this is a particular film about body modification. And so when I watched the movie, I reckon I saw 15 minutes of the whole movie was dedicated to body modification, like sort of imagery and showing that. There's one scene with those two twins where they swap the arms over. They don't show her doing anything. They just literally show the arms getting swapped over. So I think if you're going to do it, actually show the gore, actually go in and actually show what's happening rather than kind of this movie skims over the surface very lightly in a lot of areas, which I think is sort of downfall. So I think it had good intentions. I don't know if it was a budget thing or what the go was, but there was a lot of just sort of filler going on in the movie, which is unfortunate because it was sort of I was sort of coming in and out of concentrating on the movie. And when I enjoyed the scene, I enjoyed the scene. Then it just went back to sort of filler. And there was like quite a few bits where it was about 20, 25 minutes of just nothing really happening. It was just them talking or, moving around or going to the club. And then there was like that I Know Who Killed Me-esque sort of stripper scene, which is what I went to straight away.
Yeah.
And it was just so bizarre. So I ended up writing had good intentions, but lightly skimming the surface. That's what I would sort of base this movie overall. So I think it's good in some areas. It's just not good enough to be a great movie.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of the marketing I see for this movie seems to be based around that, like, oh, she's an artist, but this is the ultimate horror movie around body modification. And for someone quite vanilla and naive like myself, whose only understanding of body modification is around like facial piercings and scarring tattoos and having like the fabric weaved through the hooks in your back. I've seen some social media posts about that. That's my only understanding of it. So, I can imagine for someone who's quite a big fan of body modification, they might go into this movie and be like, this isn't what body modification is. This isn't what it's supposed to be about.
It seemed like what they were going for leading up to that surgery on those two was that they were going to be conjoining them. And then they just kind of like swapped arms and walked out of there. Like, you just see that shot of them walking away and they've just got like some bandages on. And it's like, okay. Was that meant to be really, I don't know. That was obviously meant to hit harder. I agree with you, Justin. I think that the ending is ridiculous. It almost reminded me of the ending of Breaking Bad. I don't know if either of you have seen or into Breaking Bad. Kind of similar, I guess. But yeah, just the whole like, oh yeah, one last surgery that was just really lame. And I honestly thought when she got grabbed from behind and stabbed, I thought it was going to be the other doctor. That's fully what I thought what it was going to be. But then it just ends up being the husband of the one that she did surgery on earlier. And I was just like, what is like? So it's like a shame kill. He's like ashamed of his wife or whatever. Like what is this? So yeah, the ending was really bad. And yeah, that twins scene was just, that's going to haunt me for a while. That's up there. So yeah.
There was like that period of time around 2009 to 2012 where it seemed a lot of horror movies were trying to emulate the Saw franchise. So we had the Tortured movie. There were a few others where even if it was like a regular horror movie per se, they would try and up the ante with the blood and the gore to be like, oh, well, it worked for the Saw franchise. Let's try and do our own take on it.
Yep.
I didn't necessarily get Saw from any of the scenes in American Mary, as opposed to say that one scene with the professor with the head contraption and whatnot. It felt like its own standalone movie, maybe just some big ambitions that it never quite reached.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Would I watch this movie again? Honestly, yeah, I probably would, but maybe in like 5 to 10 years when I've forgotten about the ending. And then when I rewatch it, I'll be like, fucking hell. But yeah, it is what it is. Do either of you have any final thoughts about American Mary?
I think it has good intentions. It just gets buried down in a lot of lackluster filler scenes and not enough of the gore and the detail that this movie's about, which is a shame. So either go all in or just don't do it at all. It's just frustrating when you sort of get the skim of a scene, but like, show me you chopping the arm off, not just kind of like the scene of you swapping the arms and then walking out with a bandage, as Coop said. Like that's not like shocking to me. But there's nothing about the budget on this as well, which I can't find anything on what it was. And I noted in the trivia that said there was no visual effects in this movie, which is interesting.
Yeah, all physical, proper effects, which I do have to give the filmmakers credit for.
Definitely.
I mean, 2012 CGI has come a long way, but unless you're James Cameron doing Avatar 61, I just don't think it ever works as well compared to, say, your proper puppetry, proper physical effects. Yeah.
For sure.
And sorry, Coop, did you have any other thoughts?
No, I didn't like it.
Would you have any body modification performed yourself?
I don't think so. I want to get my teeth fixed, but like other than that, I think I like the sort of beautiful decay of my mortal coil.
I'm gonna put that into a quote and like with a nice background. I'm gonna hang that in my room.
Okay. Yeah. By all means.
And I'll put like a picture of you that's like 50% opacity, so it's like one of those like really inspiring quotes. Yes. Coop and BP, just want to say thank you very much for joining me to discuss American Mary.
Thank you.
Anytime. Listeners, keep an eye out for future episodes. We also have over 50 plus episodes in our back catalogue. Everything from Final Destination to Chucky, Saw, little known horror movies, you name it, we've got it. Keep an eye out for future episodes. And if you hated this episode,
Hey, squirrel friend, when one video ends, just open up another one. It's called binge viewing. Go ahead. I support you.